Hello, and thank you so much for joining us at Inside Leisure World. It's a pleasure to meet both of you. I'm Bonnie Z. Cooper, and we've got Lynn
R. Heath.
Lynn R. Heath and Ben Kusala.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Could you tell me a little about yourself?
Sure.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, and I was born in Lutheran, and I became an agnostic in high school. In the 60s, when I went to high school, we needed to question all authority and not trust anyone over 30, and that's what I did. And then I turned 30 and realized I'd be dead soon because people over 30 die quickly. And so I bought a book called World Religions. I figured if I had to die, I might as well die as best I could. And in reading that book, I found out about Buddhism. And this was in 1979, and I've been a Buddhist ever since.
And you reside now in?
I live in Koreatown,
Koreatown.
At the International Buddhist Meditation Center. It was founded in 1970 by a Vietnamese monk.
Very interesting. Can anyone go and visit?
They can. It's a little difficult to find parking sometimes, but on Vermont, there's some wonderful Korean barbecue places, so you could do a little meditation, have barbecue.
Wonderful.
Make a night of it.
And what's very special is Ben Kusala comes to us the fourth Saturday of each month. He's our teacher. He comes to Leisure World, Clubhouse 4 from 9 to 11:30, and and it's an interactive. That's why we call it the Buddha Circle, where people bring their questions, which we'll be asking today, and he responds to them. And we're very grateful to have him as our teacher.
I feel very tranquil right now.
Oh yeah,
It's a very special feeling.
it's probably the lights. Yeah. I think it's 9 to 10:30 though, isn't it?
It's 9 to 11, 9:30 to 11.
There we
You're
go.
absolutely right.
9:30 to 11.
Yes,
And
and
you
if we
said-
have a special event, it can go longer.
It can go longer.
Last month we celebrated Buddha's birthday, so we had a big potluck afterwards, which actually today is Buddha's birthday.
That's right.
And I was going to ask you to do the serve refreshments because you know how important that is.
That's right. That's right.
Sometimes there is food and refreshments, but other times there's just, good questions and answers, and it's nice to get together and talk about the important things of life.
And that's one of the things we're going to do today is kind of explore Buddhism and get some insight from Ben Kusala. And so what I did is I actually asked our students, his students, some questions, and they came up with some pretty good questions.
Be my guest, Lynn.
Some of the ones, one of the things I would like to know is about your vision for the Buddha Circle. Do you have a vision?
You know, I don't have a vision. My vision is just to show up. And so far so good. And then my hopes are that people have questions or are curious or are concerned about the big questions of life and death and how can Buddhism be applied to that.
And that was actually one of the questions that one of the students gave is how does a Buddhist deal with life and death and dying?
Yeah, pretty much like everybody else. There's fear and anxiety. There's the big mystery. Why are we here? And then once you figure out why you're here, why do you have to leave? And
Big question.
yeah, so I think what Buddhism does is Buddhism gives us a chance to reflect, and rather than looking outside to science or religions, it says, you really know already why you're here. And all you need to do is practice looking inside. So Buddhism is, for some people, a religion, a lot of people. For some people, it's a lifestyle. All cotton and they become vegetarians. For some people it's a therapy. They're having problems with their girlfriend or boyfriend. They figure if they meditate everything will be fine. But meditation could take 40 years. I would suggest a counselor. And meditation can be a philosophy. And a lot of people like to read about Buddhism, though they never practice Buddhism or try to live in a Buddhist way. But they have a lot of understanding about Buddhism. And as Lynn said today, this is traditionally the full moon day of May is when the Buddha was born, when he achieved enlightenment, and when he passed away. So he
Absolutely.
did those three things on this day.
Very special day for all of us
It
today.
really is. And
be
so
able to
sometime
find this.
tonight, 2,600 years ago, the historical Buddha became enlightened. He achieved nirvana. So he never had to suffer again. He ended his karma forever. And he also ended all his future rebirths. And now he lives in nirvana rather than being reborn time and time again.
So what is the difference between reborn and reincarnation?
Yeah, the difference between rebirth and reincarnation is rebirth doesn't require a soul. If you believe in reincarnation, there's an unchanging soul that migrates from lifetime to lifetime until all the lessons have been learned, and then it merges with the great soul. The Buddha found that to be problematic. So what he said is our karmic energy, all the energy that we've transformed by thinking, speaking, and acting, migrates to the next lifetime. And in nirvana, that karmic energy comes to an end. So there's no more rebirth. Now, it doesn't mean you don't exist, but it means you exist because of nirvana and not because of creation. The problem with birth and creation for a Buddhist is that it always leads to sickness, old age, and death. Birth does not lead to anything good, according to Buddhism. It's just a whole lot of suffering. So our ultimate goal is to end our suffering.
That's very interesting, Venkusla, because in our Buddha circle, our philosophy is how to suffer less and be more happy. So how do we deal with suffering in our life?
Not very well.
I realize that. None of us do.
I think it starts with literally, how can I be happy?
Tell me,
And,
how can I be happy?
you know,
talk to
I
me.
think that's the starting place.
Talk to me.
And then as we evolve in our practice, we realize that happiness always has one aspect that never goes away, and that's sadness. And pain has pleasure. And so what the Buddhist wants to do is transcend that duality and come to a place of peace. So happiness is good in the beginning. We all want to be happy, but it's fleeting. It doesn't last forever. It's not permanent. Even though today at Disneyland, it's open 24 hours. And people have paid to be happy for 24 hours, but then tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock, they have to close the doors. And all that happiness turns into unhappiness. So we want to find a way where the doors don't close, where we can continue to be happy, but more importantly, find a place of peace and acceptance with the world just the way it is.
Well, how do we do that? How do we find peace and happiness?
Tell us, please.
Well, we would suggest as a Buddhist to follow the Eightfold Path. That's what the Buddha came up with in his enlightenment. He said, I have discovered 4 things. The first thing I've discovered is that life is ultimately unsatisfactory because of birth, sickness, old age, and death. He said the reason it's unsatisfactory, ultimately, is because we have desire and craving and a thirst that can never be totally quenched. He said the answer to that thirst, that desire, I call nirvana. And the way to achieve nirvana is to follow the Eightfold Path. And the Eightfold Path is right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration.
Can you repeat that one more time for us?
I can. And of course, Google, too, has
And he repeats it every Saturday.
But
Saturday
I
at
just
our
want to
group.
hear it one more time.
Yes.
right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration.
Okay.
So to become happy, to end our suffering, the very first thing we do is we start to look at what we think, what we say, and what we do, our actions.
Okay.
And we have something called the 5 precepts. And the 5 precepts allow us to be happy today by not doing stuff. And what we don't want to do is we don't want to take life. We don't want to take what is not given. We don't want to indulge in sexual misconduct. We don't want to lie. And we don't want to consume intoxicants. Now that sounds like it might lead to unhappiness, but the Buddha would say that leads to happiness. So Buddhism has a moral foundation that we come to understand and practice, and then we get into meditation. And meditation transforms the way we think. And it transforms our lust into love, our our greed into generosity, our hatred and anger into compassion and loving kindness, our wisdom and ignorance into wisdom. Pardon me, our delusion and ignorance into wisdom. We literally want to transform our mind, and that takes a lifetime. But at the end of that transformation, what we find is perfect acceptance, that we start to see the world as being just the way it's supposed to be. And we no longer have to want to change it in any dramatic way, because we've changed ourselves internally in a very special way.
I know one of the things that I've learned from you and from the Buddhist Circle and in my search, since I've been searching, is this whole idea of non-attachment. I mean, not just only to possessions, but like emotions and feelings and relationships. How does Buddhism come into play with this not being attached?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
A great question.
A Zen master was once asked, do I have to give everything away in order to be a Buddhist? Is my stuff the problem? And the Zen master said, no, it's not about giving everything away. It's about realizing that everything will be taken away. And what will take it away is impermanence and change. That we live in a world that's constantly in a state of flux. So if we get attached to anything we own or think we own, when it changes or it's taken away from us, we'll suffer. So the idea is to go through life with an open hand, and people will give us things and we accept them, and people will take things away and we accept them. As soon as we close our hand, though, we start to suffer. So all the possessions we have, we're simply using until we can't find them any longer, until the new model comes out, or until they break. And if we can figure that out, that we're just using stuff instead of owning stuff, the practice of non-attachment does lead to a place of peace.
I'm feeling so much more at peace.
I do too. I do too.
Breathe in and breathe out.
Yes, because I know that's what I have been trying to achieve in my life. You know, because you're taught as you grow up, you know, go to school, go to college, buy the big house, get married, have children, become attached.
Well, and to accumulate.
And to accumulate,
The idea, when we're in the process of becoming somebody, which is our early years, in order to become somebody, we need to acquire a lot of things. Knowledge, for one, so we go to school for a really long time, and a house and a car, and loved ones. And as we get to a certain age, and that age can vary from person to person, we start to go into nobody training. And that's when religion or practice, Buddhism, becomes really important. How can I become nobody?
Right.
How can I become nobody after being somebody my whole life? And why would that be good? And a Buddhist might say, well, because it's only nobody who dies well.
Interesting.
Well, that was one of the questions that your students had. How does being nobody, going nowhere, lead to happiness? Yeah,
being nobody, going nowhere leads to the present moment.
It's like the now.
And what we find in the present moment is we find this perfection. Our unhappiness generally is created by past and future. We're anticipating something that may not happen, or regretting something that we think happened, but not in the way we thought. And so now we find ourselves in this present moment. And being totally involved, engaged in the present moment, doesn't give us time to reflect on how it's going to turn out. So it's really about the journey and not about the goal. It's about how do I put one foot in front of the other on this journey and not get too concerned about where it's leading.
Lynn, remind me again, when is your Buddhist Circle?
Buddhist Circle is the fourth Saturday of each month. We meet in Leisure World in Clubhouse 4. From 9:30 to 11, and it is an interactive group. It's very much like today. Venkusala comes as a teacher, and he's very open to all questions, and everybody is welcome. Anybody can join. You don't have to live in Leisure World to be part of our Buddhist Circle. Matter of fact, many of your students live outside of Leisure World. So if you give me a call or an email, then I can put your name at the gate, and you can get in and partake in this wonderful Buddhist Circle.
At the very end, we'll do that. We'll make sure that we take your phone number and your email. So go on to the next question. This is fascinating.
Okay, there's a few things that I'm really interested about, and I know our group is talked about many times. You talk about nirvana. What is that?
Well, it's hard for me to describe it because the Buddha didn't describe it either, but some of the characteristics of nirvana, number one, the most important characteristic is the end of suffering. Now, people think that suffering and pain are similar, but not really. Pain is not optional, but suffering is. So thankfully, we have medication to take care of the pain, and we have meditation to take care of the suffering.
Meditation. Well, another good question too is we often talk about, and you've touched a little bit about on it, is when is desire good? Because, you know, Buddha and Gandhi and everybody was really, you know, desire is bad.
Well, desire can be bad. I had the desire to be here today, so that's good. I had the desire to have lunch. That was good. So sometimes we need desire to sort of get us going in the right direction. Ironically, we have a desire to achieve nirvana, and it's the desire itself that prevents us from achieving it. So at some point, in letting go of our desire to do this or to that, or to be this or to be that, now we have the opportunity to really manifest in a positive way.
Right, right. I mean, the Dalai Lama speaks very much like that, you know, because the big topic was desire is bad, desire is bad. But no, desire can be good.
It can get you started, absolutely. And desire to be a good person is not necessarily a bad thing.
Lynn, I have a question for you. How did you find this new calling?
Well, as I grew up in the Midwest, I too was a Lutheran, but I think the religious part of that was it was just the babysitter at the church across the street. Well, I was always looking for a way to be the better person. You know, to not be born in sin, to be, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that the Buddhists really believe that you're born perfect. You're on your path, you're on your journey, and that really resonated with me.
And
it's sort of that way. We believe we're born stupid.
Oh,
but
I was wrong.
But no. But with the potential of perfection, because the perfection's already there. It's just we haven't realized it because of our stupidity and ignorance. So our job is to get rid of our stupidity and ignorance and find the perfection that's always been there. There we go.
That's what
so
resonates
we don't have
with
original
me.
sin in Buddhism. We have stupidity in Buddhism. But by no fault of our own.
And how long have you been learning about this?
I've probably been on my journey since before 1990. Yeah, I had a bout with cancer and they gave me a year to live and I said, I better rethink this, you know, and that made a huge difference in my life. Things like that can really wake you up.
They can. It sure is a wake-up call.
It is. And here I am.
And you hike? And
I hike, I dance, I help with the Buddha Circle.
Yes.
Gosh, that's awesome.
So, so sometimes the worst part of our life can be the beginning of the best part.
And I look at a lot of that as lessons in life. Something happens, what is my lesson? It's not like, oh my goodness, that was just horrible. No, what do I need to learn from that? And you know, with the cancers, what did I need to learn from that? You know, I was running 90 miles an hour, eating a bad diet, no exercise. I changed my whole life.
You're very active now. In many,
I'm
many
active,
clubs.
but it's not like I've given up. I focus on giving up the stress. Like I was telling Venkusala, I stay calm. Stay calm. That's my philosophy. Yeah.
That's great. There are a couple more questions.
Yes, you know, one of your other students wanted you to talk about the ego. And how does Buddhism help us manage our ego? Because I kind of look like the ego is like the devil on one shoulder and then you have the angel on the other and here's the ego going crazy.
Yeah, the ego is really an important aspect in Buddhism. And what the Buddha talked about was the fact that we are not the ego. That the ego is a process that occurs because we have a mind and a body. The ego can be a terrible master, but a wonderful tool. And we need our ego in order to live in this very complicated world. We don't want to get rid of it. We don't want to kill it. We simply want to use it to benefit ourselves and others. And so in our meditation practice, we evaluate what the ego is. We try to get a sense of self. And then the Buddha said, ultimately we come to a place of not self, where we don't have to be the self if we don't want to. If the self is being created by greed, hatred, or delusion, we don't have to be that self. But if the self is being created by loving kindness and generosity and compassion, we can choose to be that self. So it's a unique way at looking at what makes you an individual and realizing that that thing is really a process that occurs and helps us be connected to all things all the time.
So the ego isn't always bad, because I've always looked at the ego as the bad entity.
No, no. If we lose our ego, and that's the problem with Alzheimer's, is oftentimes you lose your ego and get caught in the present moment without past and future or knowledge of who you are, and now you need 30 people to take care of you. So we don't want to lose our ego and have people take care of us, but we want to use the ego as a tool, the tool that was given to us, a unique tool. No other animal walking this earth has this special tool that we do, which is our personality, our unique way of looking at the world. And we can be of great benefit to others because of that. The other side of the coin is we can destroy the whole world. So what do we choose? And in Buddhist practice, we learn to choose which ego we want to be.
Question, you mentioned Alzheimer's, dementia.
Yeah.
Do you believe that perhaps somebody with a family member perhaps should bring, if they have a family member living with them, to bring them to the Buddhist circle?
The patient, Alzheimer's? I would say no.
Okay.
And the reason I would say no is this. It's a medical issue. It's not a philosophical or religious issue. And I'm not trained in how to help patients with Alzheimer's. I'm trained with how to help people who just have a little bit of ignorance and want to find wisdom and compassion.
I know we had one of his students come to the Buddhist circle, and she was having a real struggle because she had a mother and a sister who died, and I think one did die of Alzheimer's, and she was struggling with the guilt, and that's what he can help with, is sorting out those kinds of things rather than...
Yeah, and rather than helping in that specific way, what I'm pretty much sharing with people is what the Buddha said about that, because people have always died and people have always been born, and the Buddha had a lot to say about that. So it wouldn't be so much my opinion, but my understanding of Buddhism that I'm sharing.
So people that are going through grief.
Yeah.
Grief, and that was part of the...
They've lost their loved one.
Sure. So they're going through a part of their life where they have to let go forever. So how do you let go of that? How do you come to accept that that person will never be here again? And we talk about that, and we have techniques that we can use to come to a place of acceptance with loss. But on the other side of the coin, success. How do you, if you won the Powerball and got $600 million, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with having too much? You know, so that's another part of the question that we like to go over. And really there aren't any answers. You know, there are no black and white answers of what you need to do or what you should do or what you could do. What we do is we come together and we talk about all the options that are available to us, and there are plenty. Sure.
Yeah.
Lynn,
Well,
you have time for one more question, and then
it's a good one.
And then we're going to have some music.
Yes, it's an excellent question because it kind of goes along with this. We often talk about karma, and this one particular student said, "Well, what do I do with my karma if I let my mother go? You know, how does that affect my karma?"
Yeah, karma is everything we think, everything we say, and everything we do. And what it does is it transforms energy. It gives it a value, a moral value of skillful or unskillful, more suffering or less suffering. So what we want to do with our karma is we want to do something that the Dalai Lama said. He said, my religion is a simple religion. It's the religion of kindness.
Yeah.
And in whatever we do, if we can be kind, our karma benefits.
And I know there are people who are dying, and how do they deal with not upsetting their karma?
No, I know, but everybody is dying. I know you know people who are dying.
Yes.
But everybody is dying.
And on
moment to
that
moment.
note, I think we want some music.
Yes. So
There we go.
so in order to learn how to live, we have to learn how to die.
And
one
let's
of
have
the
some
things I
music.
did was I got a ukulele to learn how to live so I could die well.
Okay.
I like
And
that.
I went on YouTube to find all the Buddhist ukulele songs I could find, and I didn't find one. So what I did is I made up my own Buddhist ukulele song. And the tune will be familiar, but the words have been changed to protect the Buddhists. Here we go. It goes like this. Spin well, sweet Dharma wheel, come and vote or wake me up. Spin well, sweet Dharma wheel, come and vote or wake me up. Well, I sat down to meditate, and what did I see? Come and vote or wake me up. Band of Buddhas coming after me, come and vote or wake me up. Spin well, sweet Dharma wheel, come and vote or wake me up. Spin well, sweet Dharma wheel, come and vote or wake me up. Well, if you wake up before I do, come and vote or wake me up. Tell my friends that I'm awakened too, come and vote or wake me up. Spin well, sweet Dharma wheel, come and vote or wake me up. Spin well, sweet Dharma wheel, come and vote or wake me up. Come and vote or wake me up.
Wonderful. Do you have a second one?
Well, I have a lot of them, but
You'll have to come to the Buddha Circle to hear them.
that's right. So please come by. Tomorrow morning, I'll bring my ukulele with me,
Oh, that would be wonderful.
and I'll do another song. But
Yes.
didn't you want to close with some information about the Buddha Club?
Yes.
Please do.
Yes. It's the fourth Saturday of every month in Clubhouse 4 in Leisure World. You don't have to live there. Please come join us. And if you don't live there, give me a call at area code 562-296-5588, and I'll put your name at the front gate. Come on in and join us, and we hope to see you there.
Lynn, can you repeat your email for me again? And very slowly.
Okay.
And your phone number.
Okay, my phone number is area code 562-296-5588, and my email is just like my name, Lynn, Lynnr, as in Randy, Heath, HEATH, @gmail.com.
And I'd like you to tell me something very special about yourself. We've got about 30 seconds.
Okay. What's the only thing special about me is what I don't do, rather than what I do.
Okay.
And so what I try not to do is take life, take what is not given, indulge in sexual misconduct, not to lie, and not to consume intoxicants. That's probably the most special thing about me, are the 5 things I don't do.
And you've enjoyed being at Leisure World, visiting
I
with
have
us?
a lot of fun being at Leisure World. I was a little hesitant about going to Leisure World, but when I looked at the audience, they all look like me.
They do. They do.
And we all know about the Rolling Stones and the Beatles because we were there. And I thought, this is so cool. I don't have to explain anything.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes,
Both of
thank you,
you.
Ben Kusla. Thank you, Bonnie, for having us.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And thank you